everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So you guys already know, man, I bring people on this channel that have been to prison because I want to get different perspectives. And it's good because everybody's story and how they did their time's different. And it's especially different because today we have a female on who has been to prison in Florida, my home state. And so we're going to have a pretty good interview. We both know how the Florida DOC is. So why don't you go ahead and tell the people watching what's your name?
Well, my name is Michelle Schumer. I was raised in Broward County, and I've lived in the Tampa Bay area for 23 years now.
Okay, so you're in Tampa then?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's where I'm at. All right, wow, small world. What was life like growing up in Florida?
Growing up, I want to say at the beginning it was kind of normal. My mom was a single parent. She worked a lot, so I raised myself. Like, she was working 3 jobs and I was just, at the beginning I was doing pretty well. Then I started skipping school and getting into little trouble like that. But then I did graduate high school in 94 and I left Broward County and I moved up to Tampa.
And so did you move because you were getting in trouble or?
I moved just, I guess, to start over. I thought I would, have a better opportunity in Tampa.
Yeah. And, your story is a lot like a lot of the people that I interview. They either grow up in a broken home, the parents aren't really there. So when you got to Tampa, were you alone at that point or did you have like a place to go? Like, what was your living situation like?
No, when I came to Tampa, I had my mother's brother and sister both lived up here. Okay. So I wound up moving in with her sister, which was my aunt. And I did good for a while. I got a job. I became a manager at a grocery store and I was doing really good for a long time. And then things just got a little bit crazy.
Okay. I know about that crazy stuff. So when was it in your life you got arrested and now you're looking at doing some time?
Okay. So my first major charge was because I had got a couple of misdemeanors for driving on a suspended license. That was just a couple of flukes here and there, but in 2011 me and a close friend of mine, at that time I was on drugs. I had gotten hooked on drugs, and he said, "Hey, I got this guy that wants to buy 50 blues, 50 Roxy's. He said, and I said, "Are you sure he's okay?" And he's like, yeah, he's fine. He was like, we had just made a sale to him the other night, so it's that guy. So I was like, okay, whatever, that's fine. So the guy comes over to my house and I run over to my friend's house and I grab the pills and I come back and I go into my bedroom and I give my friend the pills because he was going to make, some money, whatever. He was going to, whatever he was doing. So I go in my room and I hand him the stuff. So he comes out, he puts them on the kitchen counter and the guy goes and counts them and he says, there's only 43 here. I had wanted 50. So I said, okay, let me run back across the street. I must have misunderstood something. So I went and I got the other 7. And I went and I put him in his hand. I gave him 7 pills. About a month goes by and I'm living life as normal. And I was down the street at a friend's house and my cousin calls me and says, "Don't come home." And I was like, "I'm almost there." And she was like, "The cops are here for you." Well, at that time I had a warrant for driving on a suspended license. So I was like, okay, forget it. I'll just go to jail, do my little time for the warrant, and I'll be back in a few days. I wasn't worried about it. So I get to the house and just 3 undercover cops and he's like, "Michelle Schumer?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "We're here to place you under arrest." And I said, "Yeah, for driving on a suspended license?" He said, "No, for trafficking in illegal substances." And I was like, holy shit.
A lot of people don't realize what that means. So, I mean, I know, but just to let them know. So in Florida, and I'm assuming this was probably like, what, 10 years ago?
This was 2011.
Yeah. So Florida was popping with pill mills.
Right.
And people were going to prison left and right for trafficking because they started weighing the pills.
Right.
And you could literally, you get caught with a Vicodin that's so much filler in that pill, and they weigh it.
Exactly.
You're doing 3 years. So that's what she means by that. But I'm not, go ahead. I just wanted to let them know that. So you go to jail, you're in jail on trafficking charges. You're obviously not bonding out because you're what,
Well,
50
back
grand?
then, right, back then they actually had put a Nebbia hold on me, which I don't think they do those anymore. But at that time, they had a Nebbia hold. So that meant anybody who was going to try to place my bond had to prove that that was not drug-related money.
Yeah, I heard of that. That's rare though. So they must have
Yeah,
been after you.
yeah, they don't do it. They don't do that anymore, from what I've been told. That's just something they used to do back in the day, but they've stopped it or something.
Yeah.
So at that time I sat in jail and talked to my lawyer. And what actually happened when I went to court on that charge was I had and this is the best part is when I was in interrogation before they actually arrested me, before they actually brought me to the jail. I'm in interrogation, and the detective was like, I think you're familiar with this guy. And in walks the guy that I sold the pills to. He was actually a sheriff working for the sheriff's office. He was an undercover sheriff. He's like, we had you on audio and video. And I was like, okay, whatever. Just take me to booking, and let's just go from there. So I sat in county for about 3 months.
What was your county jail experience like, being a woman going into jail?
Right. So that was the first time that I ever spent the night there. And it was a little bit different.
Just a little.
There's so many different personalities there, and I was not prepared for the different women with the psych issues, or seeing so many people withdraw off of drugs. I was in there withdrawing off of drugs, just the fighting and the blatant disrespect for everybody.
What was the worst thing that you saw happen when you were in jail on this case before you went to prison?
Worst thing in county, I mean, I don't know. I saw a couple of relationships, but for the most part, Falkenberg Road Jail for the women is pretty mild. Like there's a couple of fights, but they're pretty well respected. I didn't really have a very bad experience, except I just didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, I didn't know you were at Falkenberg. I already know. So there's an officer in there 24/7. Believe it or not, Tampa has their jail like pretty well secured as far as like keeping shit under control. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. So you go to court. You're obviously you're facing a minimum mandatory with a trafficking charge.
Right. But here's the kicker is when I did go to court, I had only given the cop 7 pills. So I was below the minimum mandatory. I was below the 4 to 14 grams at that point. My friend, however, gave 43 pills.
Yeah, he didn't make that cut.
He did make it. He went to prison for 3 years, and I wound up on probation for possession and delivery.
How long was it you lasted out there on that probation?
Yeah, so let's talk about probation. So I violated regularly. Dirty urines, petty thefts, just a bunch of, I was still on drugs. I wasn't ready to get clean at that point. I thought I knew better, I actually, at that point, I also had a 2-year-old child at that point. I was arrested again. Okay, my 5th violation of probation was an armed robbery charge. Well, it was robbery with a deadly weapon. So that was my 5th violation of probation. They took my daughter at that point and put her in foster care. I got an armed robbery charge, or whatever they worded it, robbery with a deadly weapon. And I knew I was going to prison because, how many strikes can I possibly get? They surrounded my house. It was me, my husband, and the co-defendant. We had already had our story straight. So, we were already going to stick to the story. We weren't going to prison. Our word against theirs, blah, 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 right?
That shit don't work.
Oh, but we were smart. We thought we had it all down pat. Until we realized that there was audio and video, and they had us on camera. And then our co-defendant turned state. So not only do they have the victim's word, but now her statement matches the victim's statement. So
so how long did you get sentenced to in prison then?
So I was sentenced to 6 years with a downward departure. I did 3. My husband did 5, and our co-defendant got probation. And when I did my prison time, they put me in reception center on the annex, at Lowell Annex. I did my RNO there.
All right. So I've heard a lot of stories about Lowell. I've actually interviewed some people that have been there on my channel. Yeah. But tell the people what Lowell's like in the Florida Department of Corrections.
Lowell is an absolute nightmare. Anything that you've heard is true. I saw things like the cops, throwing cigarettes down the drains and then girls fishing them out. There was this one time they shook down our dorm. If you didn't have a lock, if your locker wasn't locked, they took all the locks off and put them all on the gate outside, and you had to figure out what lock was yours by trying the combination on about 30 to 40 locks that they now had locked on the gate outside. It was unbelievable. They would take all of our belongings and throw them out of our locker in the middle of the floor. And now you had a bunch of honest felons trying to, sort out who belongs to what and whose is really theirs,
Why do you think they did that? How did all that happen?
Boredom. I really believe that those guards were just lowlifes and they're bored, and that's just to stir the pot, No,
I'm right with you. I think the same thing. I think they get off on it, and that's why they do it.
Absolutely.
When you were in there, what was the craziest thing you saw correctional officers doing? Either, just doing it out on the compound or doing it to another inmate? What would you say that is?
I saw them placing bets on who was going to beat the fights in the dorm. There was just one officer, he'd lock the dorm down, and him and the other guy would place bets, and they would let the 2 girls fight. And, they'd set it up a week in advance, and then they'd lock the doors and they would fight, and they'd place bets on them.
Damn. So there was some Fight Club shit going on.
Yeah.
How was the violence in the women's prison?
Nowhere near as bad as the men's prison, but we had violence. I mean, you got so many different hormones going, there are definitely fights.
Are the women using knives or shanks or anything like that, or is it straight just fights?
I did not see any fights like that where they were pulling out weapons. Most of them were just fighting bare hand. Oh, a lock. I saw one day during count, I'm sitting on my bed, and this older woman got off her bunk and put her lock in her sock and went over to another woman and beat the shit out of her. She looked like she had been in a car accident. Her entire face was purple, and by the next day it looked even worse. She was, oh man, that lady.
What was that over? Was that over some relationship type shit?
No, believe it or not, that was over the fact that the older woman got money. She would go buy canteen, but would never buy hygiene products. So she always smelled like death. I mean, she stunk bad. And this lady decided to tell her how bad she smelled. And during count, that lady decided that she was, I guess, embarrassed or upset or whatever. And she beat the shit out of her.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just did an episode on hygiene in prison, man. And listen, if you've never been in a 2-man cell with a dude that doesn't shower and doesn't buy hygiene, that'll make you fucking bash someone's head in with a lock. Cause I can't stand that shit, bro. I'll fucking pull them up.
Disgusting.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So when you were in there, did you come across any situations where you felt like this could go to the next level as far as violence goes?
Well, the lady had told me I was next. After she was done beating her with the lock, she told me, and she's like, "You are next, white girl." And she, so I put a lock in my sock because I didn't know what was going to happen. I had only been in prison 2 months at this point. So, I put my lock in my sock and I was going to get ready, but she was an older woman and obviously had a lot of mental issues. So I think that played a lot of all of it. But she never got it to me because they had tackled her by that point. They had already tackled her and stuff. So her and I never fought. I had a couple of arguments when I got to my 3rd compound, but I never fought anybody, just never got into a physical altercation.
So what was your prison time like? You know, some people get into shit when they're in there. How did you get through your time and just managing, being away from your family and shit like that?
Right. Well, because by the time I got to prison, I had 2 children, both of them in foster care. So I was trying like hell to get them back. So I knew if I got in trouble in prison, when I went to the court hearings for the kids, they tell you everything that's been going on. So they tell the judge that. So I was trying not to get into any serious trouble. I had a couple of, write-ups for missing pill line, a couple CCs for pill line and things like that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, right. But I got close to having a DR one time, but that would have been a bunch of bullshit as well. I didn't get the DR. So I just kept my head on my shoulders because I had a goal in mind, and that goal was to get my kids back. I didn't get them in the end, but I did try. So
if someone were to ask you, like, what did you learn by going to prison? What do you think you would tell them?
I learned that prison is not rehabilitation. There's nothing. People go in there and they come out usually more angry or a better criminal. So many people are repeat offenders. I just learned that if you do the right thing, you're going to have a decent time in there. It's not going to be that stressful. You're going to get out and you're either going to make that decision to reoffend or you're going to do the right thing. It's so easy to get caught up in the lifestyle and the crazy relationships. And, it's very easy to get involved in all of that. You just have to have a goal. And my goal was to just go home. I just wanted to go home at the end of this,
Yeah, and that's the key. You got to definitely not want to go back.
Yeah.
Some people teeter with that and play around with it, but that shit's not a game, and they want you back. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
I just want to thank you for coming on the channel and sharing your story. And so if you could say something to a young, female watching this right now, maybe headed down the wrong path in life, what would you tell them?
Man, get your life together. Nothing is worth losing your family, your freedom. I mean, they got to tell you when to use the bathroom, take a shower, walk in the lines, how to dress, what to wear. You get disrespected on a daily basis at Lowell. Nothing is worth it. If you can't afford it, you don't need it. Just go to work and get a paycheck. It's just a lot easier.
Yeah, prison will make you want to have a normal life. I know that much.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Hey, if you're new and you're tuning in for the first time on this channel, you already see it. We talk about prison, we talk about jail, crime, and corruption. So hit that subscribe button and turn your post notifications on all, so every time I drop an episode, you can hear it first. And with that, it's DOC TV, and I'm out.